Welcome back, and today we're talking about feeling to heal. Stay tuned.
The first rule of Insight Club is you don't talk about Insight Club. You do Insight Club. The second rule of Insight Club is the only assumptions we make about one another are that we all want happiness and we all want to avoid suffering. The third rule of Insight Club is you check all your other assumptions at the door. We hope these conversations will bring you insights that incite you to action. Welcome to Insight Club. All right. So I learned the phrase, you got to feel it to heal it from you, Lace. And I always am a fan of something that rhymes. Life advice that rhymes. I'm like, that's got an extra layer of truth to it. You got to feel it to heal it. And we wanted to unpack this today. And I think a place we can start is with not feeling. What is it like to not feel and to numb? And what are the ways we numb? And I was sharing with you before we started recording that I used to hear this idea of, oh, people numb. And I would go, I'm not numbing, because my conception of numbing was being completely out of it. You know, like, let me have 3 martinis and exit conscious life. But of course, there are so many subtle ways we numb. And maybe I'll just start us off with this little thing that happened this morning that gave me an insight. So I needed to ask Grady for help, but I felt embarrassed about the thing I needed help with. And I felt the embarrassment coming up, but it's like a real world practical thing, right? And so if I don't ask for help, things will get worse. So I'm feeling this discomfort. And I was like, I recognize this feeling. And I also recognize that what I normally do with this feeling of embarrassment to ask for help is to get angry. And I can think of so many times when I have needed help, and then it's immediately translated to, well, I don't want to feel that way. And so I'm going to get angry instead. And I'll come out with like, how come you didn't do that? You know, whatever it is that's not about getting help with the thing I need. And so instead, I let the emotion come up, and I even had tears in my eyes and I was like, Grady, I feel embarrassed, but I need help with this. And he was like, of course, I can help you with that. And it was such a beautiful moment. And I felt the emotion come through, and I had some tears, and then it was gone. And I was like, oh, what a beautiful thing for me to earmark, to put a pin in, of feeling it and allowing it means it rolled through me a lot faster. And so that's kind of where I'm starting with. It's like, what are those moments when we either allow the emotion or we disallow the emotion? And maybe it looks like choosing a different emotion in a lower vibration that I think gives me more power because I'm scared. And then, of course, there are other ways that we deny ourselves the beautiful privilege of experiencing the emotion.
Experiencing the connection as well, because we fear the vulnerability, right? We disconnect in the vulnerability.
Yeah.
I have such a similar reaction to yours when I feel like I need help, but I don't want to ask, and or I feel like it's going to be like it's not going to be taken well, or I'm ashamed. And I want to touch on the frequency that you mentioned as well. I tend to go to anger as well, but I will disagree with you that is a lower vibration.
Yeah.
Because it is a lower vibration compared to what we could go, which would be like the willingness or acceptance that it's like, okay, I need to accept help, or I'm willing to accept help at least. And yeah, anger is lower than that. And sometimes accepting help can bring us to love and feeling appreciated and so on. But compared to, like you said, like you're feeling embarrassment is more on the shame side. It's more on the feeling it is a lower vibration than anger. So the anger feels more safe and comfortable
Yeah,
than getting down there into shame or guilt or something like that.
for sure. Yeah.
So it
Feels
is.
like it feels like I have some agency versus the feeling of embarrassment. Like in this particular thing too, is like I really don't feel capable. So it's like I need help with this because I'm really not feeling capable at it. And like I feel very embarrassed that I'm not capable at this basic human function.
Oh, I had a similar thing the other day. Well, first of all, I'm in no way, like healed completely from this. But I had an experience that was like a could be a bad experience, but was kind of like that milestone, that check mark that something changed
Yeah.
for me in here for the way I dealt with it and how it turned out. And it was really embarrassing. Like I had no option.
Mm.
um, I I use a catheter for my urine, and it goes to a bag, right? All right, but up till then. But what happens was this day the bag wasn't completely closed, and I
Oh,
wasn't aware of it. And I was giving a class, and when uh, nobody noticed, I didn't notice, nobody seen anything. But as we all know, we pee, right? So what happened was at the end of the class, one of my students asked, "Oh, there's water on the floor, and maybe you have um, a water bottle or something in here?" And I was like, "No, I'm sure that's pee." And it was. I in other moments I could feel really embarrassed
yeah.
for that, but I was like, I was playing with it. I asked another friend who was with us to ask my mom for yeah, the cleaning stuff to clean the floor, and it was fine.
Yeah.
We clean it, all good, close it, it's okay. But I was thinking, that is really embarrassing. But I didn't choose to go to anger. I
Yeah.
didn't choose to stay in embarrassment. I just acknowledged that it is what it is. It happened. It
Yeah.
can happen. It's not the worst thing. It was easy to solve. So maybe sometimes it is really like 90% the way we deal with it, right?
Yeah, you're bringing up this idea for me cuz you said like I mean it is embarrassing, but is embarrassment something objective or is it all about how we feel with it? I had this moment of thinking yesterday or the day before maybe about these kind of bodily function things and like generally we are very embarrassed and then there are times like somebody you love, let's say, has food poisoning, and they're just, like they're at the toilet and, things are happening. And we don't feel like, oh, that you should be embarrassed. We're like, oh, I'll get you water and a washcloth, and you're just there and present, right? And the
Yeah,
same thing
you're
for
not
like,
like a gross.
yeah, and the same thing for anything that's like a medical moment, right? It's like, "Oh, wow, remember I'm in a body and I don't have control over stuff that happens." And we are able to show up with empathy in those moments. And so I was just kind of playing with it the other day. Could I be in that state of not embarrassment for myself and also not like, ew, grossed out about other people? Um outside of could I translate that thing we naturally do when somebody is in a situation where they need help to everyday life and just decide that things are but not embarrassing. And I think this opens up like a really important part of the conversation, which is, am I getting some benefit from the emotion? Am I
Mm,
getting some benefit from the emotion? So of course we talked about anger, and you reminded me. I love that reminder. It's like, yeah, anger kind of brings me up from that feeling of sadness, or like I can't do it. So of course
yeah.
it is inviting. And embarrassment can be helpful if I'm out of alignment with how I really want to be. So for example, I have felt embarrassment on numerous occasions when I am being impatient with someone,
Mhm.
right? So, like, something's happening and I get sarcastic, and then I feel embarrassed. I'm like, oh, that's helpful because it brought me back and made me go, that's not how I want to treat people or be treated. That's not the world I want to live in, is like, "Meow, I'm snarky and sarcastic." And so I'm like, beautiful. That embarrassment for a brief period is helpful. And then we think about like constant states of shame that we can spiral into. And this is we kind of stepped away from this idea of feeling it to heal it, but we're going to come back to it because there are some emotions that we can just get caught in loops in,
Yeah.
and it's like being in the wave that just keeps dunking me under and dunking me under and dunking me under. Okay, I'm like, which way is up? I can't get out of the ocean. And and I have a feeling that this is true. That loop is happening for me when I'm not surrendering to the emotion, like fully soaking in. So if I start to feel the beginning of embarrassment and I don't want it, and I keep trying to throw it away, but it's like a boomerang. And I'm
Yes.
like, get away from me. And I throw it and it comes back and cracks me in the head, right? So it's like, I don't want this. 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 It feels uncomfortable. And then that will go into a shame cycle as opposed to like, oh, I'm embarrassed. Oh, that doesn't feel good. Okay, but now I can move on to the next thing. What's your thought of that?
I love that you brought that. Because we get embarrassed, then we don't want to feel embarrassed. So we get angry, then we feel embarrassed for being angry.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it is definitely a spiral. And how much negative feelings we feel avoiding feeling?
Yes.
How
Yes.
how many I should say, but anyway, yeah, how many negative feelings go through for avoiding feeling? And at the end is, I feel like we avoid what we want the most, which is the connection, which is that thing that can only happen in the vulnerability, in opening and receiving love back, because we are afraid that what if that doesn't happen?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
if we, instead of being met with love, we're met with more shame or more guilt tripping or anything like that?
Or just even like stonewalling. Like, you're locked out of connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I just had one of my big insights for today's conversation, and that is what you just said, is like we're choosing different feelings. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay. So again, this idea of numbing, when we say numbing, sometimes numbing is I'm going to choose anxiety, guilt,
Yeah.
anger, frustration. Like I'm still going to feel things, but I'm feeling the kinds of feelings that are likely to cause loops and are
Yeah.
not likely to create catharsis.
Yeah.
Because even like I'll tell you, that moment of embarrassment, yeah,
Those are still control feelings.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So that moment of embarrassment I had this morning was a mini catharsis. I mean, it was really quick, but it was like, I feel this, I allow this, I'm tearing up, the tears are coming. I asked for the help, it's gonna get solved. Oh, and then and I felt the movement. And yeah, so I'm just fascinated by this idea that numbing isn't necessarily cessation of feelings and emotions. It's a redirect toward emotions of control. And you were talking about this before we started recording, but busyness is a form of numbing.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the numbing with substances, right?
Yeah.
Alcohol, drugs, whatever it
Even
is.
food, that bag of Trader Joe's chocolate
Food.
chips is like, let me just
Yeah,
stand
just
there eating those.
obsessing eating, yes. Uh, TV,
Yeah.
just scrolling these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
All of these are kinds of numbing, but for sure, we both mentioned that we share that staying busy, working too much is a way that of numbing that we call productivity. And it's not to say that it's not good to be productive, because are different things. But sometimes we even stay too long on a task that didn't even require all that time. But as long as we are in that action, we don't have the space to feel something else,
Yeah. And
or
I
even to allow someone else to enter our space.
hmm. Oh, so it's a great defense. I actually think scrolling satisfies that part of the brain that's busyness. And I don't know if you have this, but I've noticed this, that sometimes I'll sit down intentionally to watch a movie or a show on the big screen, on the TV, and be like, "Oh, we're going to watch this show, we're going to watch this movie." And I feel agitated, and I will pick up my phone, and I took social media off my phone because it was just too it was too tempting to stay on it too long. But I'll like go through my email. Like, do I have any Voxes? Do I have, I'll I'll get really creative about, I don't have games or anything even on my phone, but I'll be like, let me look at this recipe that this person sent, from the email I'm subscribed to. Um, and it is it's a way of staying busy. Like when I am not comfortable relaxing, even to consume a story somebody else is telling me. Like I'm not even feeling my own emotions, but maybe there's part of me that's like, have to avoid feeling whatever I'm feeling. So have to find a project, a way to stay busy. But I think the habit of checking for new inputs from all our various apps
Yeah.
fulfills the busyness desire so perfectly, and becomes really addictive. And that's not productive at all.
No. And then we wonder where the time goes,
Yeah.
right? And then again, we spiral because there's a little bit of embarrassment in it, but then we get angry
Yeah.
and it keeps going. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's pick up this thread of you gotta feel it to heal it. Um, what does that mean to you?
The numbing shouldn't be. We shouldn't demonize it. We should use it as a mark of where we are avoiding something.
Yeah.
So it's very easy if we are aware of how we numb, and we pick ourselves in numbing, to turn off and get curious. What am I avoiding? What is the underlying uncomfortable feeling frequency that I'm avoiding through this action of either working too much, or scrolling, eating too much, drinking, whatever the numbness is. Sleeping too much. Sleeping
Yeah.
too much can be a way of numbing as well.
Oh, yeah, when I've gone through bouts of depression, it's just like I just want to turn off.
Yeah,
You know,
sometimes
sleep
it's
is like let me just not have to engage with the world. Yeah.
yeah. I had times where I I just didn't even want to get up from bed, and I
Yeah.
would end up getting up really late just because I had to eat,
Yeah.
basically, right? But yeah, those are all things that are indicators that, oh, there's something else in here. Why am I not having that excitement about life, that
Mhm.
desire to get up and live and do the things that I love and like explore, and what is going on underneath? Or
Yeah.
if it's with something like, I don't want to ask for help, so I'm starting to get angry. What it is that this anger is hiding? Is it really anger, or am I just hiding something else here? Because the shadow is really insidious. The ways we numb are really insidious. There's always something that, if it was that obvious, we would already know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like, I should have known. I'm trying to. I know that I don't want to feel this, so I'm going to feel this. It's actually that we usually are not even aware of what's
I
going on.
yeah, I'm inspired. I'm going back to the Vox you sent me about the new moon coming up on Monday in Scorpio. um because you said it's a moon of transformation, shadow work, and we can only transform what we have the courage to look at.
Yes.
And I it gave me so many chills reading it and reading
That,
it again now. But feeling it, like, why do we need to feel it to heal it? Because feeling it is a way of looking at it. You know, feeling is looking with our soul and going, this is present for me. This is a thing. This is going on. These are the conditions of life for me right now. And the emotion isn't in isolation, right? It's tied to life circumstances, it's tied to thoughts, it's tied to actions and behaviors. Why was I embarrassed about asking for help this morning from the partner who has agreed, like, I want to do life with you and we will help each other? Like, why was I embarrassed? Because the thing I need help with is linked to something I've been avoiding for a while. You know, it wasn't like in the moment, this is a new thing. It's like, oh, I've been avoiding it, and I know I've been avoiding it, I know I've been, and now it's kind of at a crisis moment. It's like, oops, I waited too long. um, but the emotion is a signal, an alert. There's something here that needs my attention.
yeah.
And I mean, when the smoke detector goes off in your house, you can just turn it off. There's a way to do that. But that's probably not what you want to do immediately. You probably want to find out what's making I mean, for me, I know it's always like I've got something on the stove that's just creating a lot of smoke, right? Whenever I make pancakes, I used to set off the smoke detector. But like the detector is not the problem. So swapping out which emotion we feel is like getting angry at the smoke detector
Yeah.
versus like, where's the smoke?
Yes. So I want to go back to what you just said with getting with feeling to healing,
Yeah.
and having to look at the thing. That's exactly what we're doing with this workshop that we're going to do on the full moon, on the 12th Scorpio full moon. And the looking at it is the integration part. It's not that we're just going to look at our shadows. The thing is, the shadows are not only in the things that, and I want to touch on that as well, on the things that we are avoiding because they're uncomfortable and we don't like. We actually avoid as much the negative as the good,
Mm,
because the good is not the pleasure, the joy is not something that we are wired to look. In survival, we usually need to look at the menaces, the things that can harm us. So when there's something good, usually we either overlook, or we have that feeling of, this is too good, so something bad is going to happen. So we
Right.
know that as well,
Yeah.
right? So integrating is really holding everything. It's giving the time to look at everything, either if it feels negative or if it feels positive, allowing ourselves to stretch to those extremes and not wanting to stay in homeostasis all the time, because life is not homeostasis. If we were in homeostasis in our walking, for example, we would stay in the same place all the time because
Yeah.
we need out of balance to walk.
Uh, and yes, yes, we need the movement, we need the change. And also, I think it might be a false homeostasis. Because if you really looked at our body systems, you would go like, actually, this person's cortisol is going crazy. Like this person's stress hormones are firing, that we're not truly in a state of calm. I think most of us are spending a lot more time than is uh, sustainable in our sympathetic nervous system response. And as we were planning this workshop on the full moon on the 12th, a lot of imagery came up about being full and needing the time to rest and digest. And that's something your system can't do when you're stuck in a sympathetic response, because all systems are ready to uh flee or fight. We're
Yeah.
freezing, we're fawning. But all of the body's resources are redirected towards survival. And so there are a couple factors we need in order to be able to integrate. And one is to recognize that we might be in the myth of productivity, which is actually numbing. We might be in a sympathetic nervous system response where we're just on a high stress alert, especially people who are deep feelers. You're feeling everything. If you picture a sea anemone, they close up to gather food and to stay safe from danger. But if you just ripple the water near them, they close up. And it's not necessarily a fear response, right? They're looking for like, where's the little bits of food and can I get something? But we have as sensitive a trigger often. So we need the space to rest and digest. And
Yes.
then we also need, I think, a path through. Because what we don't mean by you got to feel it to heal it is you should just sit and wallow in all of those feelings that are really uncomfortable, as if you're, like stuck
Oh,
in a swamp or something.
it's giving each feeling its space,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
we actually lose, if we're thinking of productivity, we waste a lot more time in the cycle of emotions in trying to avoid the emotion that is in the moment. uh, Science has proven, I can't remember exactly the time, but if we actually allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling, it only takes a few seconds
I think it's
for it.
90 seconds. I think it's a minute and a half for the
Yeah.
emotion to pass. And that's like
Yeah.
a physiological thing. That's how long it takes to travel through your body. Yeah.
Yeah, and we even talked about this in other episodes, how animals, when they have a stress response to something, they shake and they have that body reaction to things, and then they let it move, and they're fine. And we tend to hold on to it and stay stuck in the past, and then we don't want to feel, so we stay in that survival mode, and there's no space to digest, like you were saying, survival mode.
Yeah. Yeah. So we need the space for sure. And then like I think we need something to guide us, and it could be ourselves or it can be somebody providing some kind of structure. But how can I not just sit with the emotion and feel terrible? How can I sit with the emotion and learn from it and ask, what is the lesson here for me? How am I meant to be changed as a result of this? And how can I transform this feeling into some kind of action. So like I was saying about, recognizing my embarrassment was coming up because I haven't been taking action. So it's like, well, instead of just going, okay, no, I feel it and it's done, like, oh, this emotion is a teacher. And it's saying, Megan, there's something out of alignment. And how can you step more into alignment and be in integrity? Do the thing, take care of the shit that needs to get taken care of.
Yeah, and I feel like this is where, in the case of the workshop, it comes with things that you and I are going to bring as well. The questions that you're going to bring that will allow to integrate some practices that we're going to do that allow to anchor those things into a lesson or into uh, like a trigger, but a positive trigger in the case of things that are joy moments that we let pass, because those things can also help us uh, come back to that center, right? The reason why we stay so much in the low vibration is because we really hold to the negative, but we don't hold to the positive, and we end up staying the lower side of the scale. So if you can stretch a little bit to the other side as well, it's easier to stay more in the middle and not so much uh, mid lows.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to
frequencies.
get a bit more comfortable with the positive things.
Yeah.
Um, what do we think it means to heal something? What's a good working definition of healing something? Because I'm hearing like part of it has to be, I think, integration, right? Like healing something means like I'm bringing it in. I'm no longer making it separate. I'm healing this in me means I'm like holding it to me, feels in some
Yeah.
way part of the definition.
Yeah. I love that. And I'm thinking, when I mentioned healing, I was thinking of how our skin heals, and it's like stitching together, but it, it's a becoming one again. There's that glue that comes together, but it always leaves, or almost always leaves, a little bit of a mark.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't say that is negative. It's like that badge of honor, is that anchor of what you learned, what came with your experience, what uh, something that is uniquely yours from that point on. So I feel like healing is also like that mending back, yes, but with a new sense of meaning and integration in it.
That's beautiful. Okay, I just as you were talking, what popped to mind is the movie The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay. And this endeavor that's ultimately futile to erase the pain. And they keep like re-meeting and re-falling in love. there's there's something there. And so that, because when you were talking about the skin stitching together and healing, but there's a scar, and imagining things healing, but there's no memory of the lesson we've gone through. Like that's what they're trying to do in that film. It's like, it's too painful to think of this person I loved and then lost. So just eradicate them from my mind. And it doesn't work. They keep like, it's been years and years since I've seen it. So I'm probably like not accurately
I love that movie as well.
depicting what happens. But my memory of the feeling of it is like, even after they're wiped, they keep feeling the charge between, there's like, they know there's something about that person. And it doesn't serve us to just have things lasered away without the memory of what we went through. Now, I think it also doesn't serve us if instead of it healing and there's like a little scar, the skin covers over, but there's an infection underneath. Right? It's like, that's not helpful either. So it's not well, I really want to always just every time I think of this situation, I want to have pain. That's not what it means feeling it to healing it to heal it. It means hopefully eventually we can think about that situation and there isn't a charge or the charge is less or we can even laugh about it. Like your story is so beautiful where you were like, I'm just the way you described it was that you were leaning into fun, leaning
Yeah.
into play maybe. Yeah. And you're like, nope, that's pee.
Yeah. My friend went to make fun of me, and I love when people make fun of these situations because it makes it so much lighter.
Yeah.
And then I messed with him. Do you want to close it for me?
Are you volunteering to help? Yeah.
He did it already, but yeah, it's a little bit embarrassing. Yeah. So what it was coming when we were talking about the infection and so on is, uh, so first of all, with the Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Eternal Sunshine of the
Eternal
Spotless Mind.
Sunshine. It was a great example of how we repeat the pattern if we don't learn from it as well,
Yes.
right? So just erasing it won't serve the lesson. It won't make us stop cycling into the same thing. And with the example of the scar, yes, it's not helpful if there's something in there as well that needs to be healed. Even if we look into in medicine, sometimes when people have something that is still infected in there, they need to reopen a scar to
Yes.
be able to clear. And we do this with emotions all the time as well. Like when there's something that is not completely healed, you need to come into a state of catharsis to help it clear. But it's also not helpful when the scar closes in a way that makes you lose your sensitivity or makes you lose your ability to move in that area. That happens as well. And I feel like that's a great analogy with when we use the lesson as a survival mechanism. Like if that brought me this pain, so I won't get into anything close to what hurt me again.
Yeah. Like if you said, I'll never teach a class again.
Yeah.
Because I have this experience teaching a class. Yeah.
I'll never be close to humans again because I might see things like that happen. No, right? You need to keep living. It's embarrassing, yes, but the more we accept ourselves, the less embarrassed we get. Yes, we get more humble, which is great because the only reason we get embarrassed is because we have pride. But the more humble we get, and this stuff like that helps me stay humble. That's a good side of it. Like, yeah, I'm in no way perfect, and my body is not in any way perfect. So I just need to roll with it. So it keeps me grounded. And yeah, I have physiological needs that need support in many ways, and some of them are embarrassing sometimes. And I make mistakes, like leaving my bag open.
Yeah, I think it's also really helpful to experience that kind of embarrassment that has nothing to do with a moral problem. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, something that is, we call them honest mistakes even, right?
Mm.
Where it's like, I wasn't doing anything bad, but like, oops, it's like I dropped this thing and it spilled everywhere. It's like, okay, that's embarrassing because of like our expectations of one another in society. And yet it's very different from like, oh my gosh, a kind of embarrassment that I've had so many times is I didn't ask for help. I see the thing that I'm not figuring out, getting done, whatever it is. And I'm like, the scene in I don't know which Austin Powers movie it is, but there's a steamroller and somebody's standing there like, but the steamroller is like 50 feet away and it's moving at a snail's pace. And so he has plenty of time to get out of the way, but he's still just standing there like, ah.
Yes.
I don't remember which character it is, right? But like I so often I felt that way where I see the thing coming and I'm like, oh, this needs to be taken care of. This needs to be taken, but I don't take care of it because I don't know how and I'm terrified to ask for help. That's been the pattern. And then I've had multiple times, and a lot of them through work, probably most of them through work. And then the steamroller finally gets there, something bad happens, and I'm like, oh, I kind of saw that coming and I didn't do anything to get out of the way. That kind of embarrassment is like, oh, it's really gut churning because it's me knowing better but not doing better versus like I spilled the thing or I'm biological and yeah, I just farted. Yeah, deal with it,
You
Um,
know,
but
that
I
go
think the practice in the realm, like, what if we could use those embarrassments where we didn't do anything wrong? We just, whatever, kind of made a socially unacceptable thing happen. What if we could use those as practice with the embarrassment? Then we'd get better. And then the embarrassment that's coming from the bigger things, we go like, okay, now I can actually hold space for this and be with it and therefore not have the disaster occur. But like, how many times have I missed practicing getting good at accepting emotions that are unpleasant, like embarrassment, because I just chose not to feel them? So missing the chance to practice
yes.
to get
Uh,
good so I don't have to have the big bad stuff happen.
yeah. Accepting those moments, and yeah. The way you're talking, I actually thought, yeah, it is worse than a physiological thing, embarrassment, like you said. But there's an embarrassment that I feel that, at least for me, is even worse
Uh-huh.
when I unintentionally hurt someone.
Ah, yeah. Yes.
And it can be with words, it can be physically, like physically. I happen to like ride over people's feet quite often, and it's not fun.
Oh,
Like with my wheelchair,
yeah.
that's not fun at all. Like I
Yeah.
know it hurts. I had my dad lost a nail once because of that.
Oh,
It wasn't fun at all.
yeah.
I feel terrible, terrible. But it's also that moment that we need to either acknowledge, and we it's so easy to go into anger as well and to like, oh, you
Why
shouldn't
were
be,
you standing there? Yeah.
why did have you left your feet in there or something like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
instead of saying, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we numb in so many moments,
Yeah.
and what we're avoiding is the shame, is the guilt, is not being right, is losing control, being judged, all of those things.
So here's another massive insight I'm having from this conversation. I think because ultimately I'm like, okay, if I'm presenting this as a thesis statement, like it's better to feel it to heal it than to numb it through activity, anger, all those other things, turning it around on the other person. Why weren't you checking on me that I was doing those projects? This is your
Yeah.
responsibility. Yeah. What's the selling point of feeling it to heal it? Well, I feel that every time I choose anger, avoidance, numb, I'm creating one of those scars that leaves me less able to feel, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
I feel like that calcifies me. And every time I'm choosing to feel it, despite it being uncomfortable, I am gaining flexibility,
Yeah.
suppleness, aliveness. And I have this image of like somebody who is almost a living fossil. Like that it's possible to harden and ossify ourselves emotionally so much that we might just be kind of like little eyes poking out through stone.
Yeah.
And I think that is the antithesis of our purpose here, because I think we're supposed to be connecting and re
Mm.
refinding that oneness, and the fact that we're people talk about single origin coffee, we're a single origin life form. It's
Yeah.
like we're all just from one energy, right? So
And
for me, yeah, feeling
every
it to heal it is I'm I'm picking up my human responsibility.
Mm.
I'm being human in the most responsible way I can.
Yes. And every time we heal something for us, we're healing for the whole, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. I
Mm.
um Yeah, I've had experiences in deep meditation of feeling the healing ripple go backward and forward, like
Yeah.
up the genealogical line, like feeling those and ancestors, but close generations, and going like the ripple just went through past, present, and future, impacting everybody, giving everybody more resourced uh energy. Like, it's healed, it's done, you're good.
Yeah. Well, I I feel like that's what we're bringing with the full moon full me,
Yeah.
and again bringing back to the integrating the good and the bad and the good,
Yeah.
because everyone that we spoke with felt like they went through so much up to this point in the year. So we don't need more things. We need to really stop, rest, digest, and integrate what life thrown at us. And I want to repeat the thing of integrating the positive as well, because we get everything that we repeat, like we were saying, like every time that we do that numbing, we end up making that cycle, that pattern, that connection in our brain stronger. So we do that again and again and again. Every time that we break a cycle and choose differently, we're creating new pathways, we're creating new roads that we can walk. And I feel like it's so important for us to create those roads to connect and to anchor those points where we felt joy, where we really felt, I don't want to say proud in a sense of having like pride, but felt like, yeah, felt a sense of this is how I want to be. This is me in my best. This is me in my higher self. And I can come back to being like this, like to accepting myself so fully that I don't feel judged or don't feel ashamed for this. And I can still be humble, yes, but not feeling like I'm bigger or better than anyone, but that I am living in my best version and not staying stuck in the patterns.
Yeah. And it is this feeling of like, I'm doing it.
I'm doing it.
The way you see a little kid get really excited. So Grady and I have this thing we say that that started out as a joke when you're not really helping, or you're doing kind of the minimal amount, but we'd say, I'm helping, but it would be like you're doing the middle. But it's evolved and become this thing when you really feel, we've been doing a lot of yard work recently. And so it was like, I got this feeling as we were, hammering stakes in yesterday and doing the stuff. And I'm like, I'm doing something that's a challenge for me. But I'm staying at it. And I was like, I'm helping. And it is, I mean, it's hard to know what else to call it. There's, for me, a different feeling to pride versus I'm feeling proud.
Yes.
But that feeling of I'm feeling proud because holy moly, look, I'm contributing. Um,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's yeah, I love that you're we need to anchor the positive as well. So the invitation is out there and we'll put the link to register for the full me workshop. It's happening on the full moon in Scorpio on Monday, May 12th. And this is the opportunity to integrate both, as Lise was saying, the things where it feels like life is exploding and the places where you're like, oh, I've got new clarity and I'm going in this direction and I'm so excited about it. Like, we're creating space through sound play, through writing prompts and storytelling to really allow these feelings to move through you, to learn the lessons that need to be learned, to anchor in the ways you want to feel and create those new neural pathways. So you're actively deciding, okay, I'm either going to stay in the rumination and numbing loop, or I'm going to allow the happiness and allow the joy and allow the curiosity. Is open to everyone. But this is going to be a really beautiful moment to integrate, contemplate, and celebrate.
Yes.
So hope to see you there.
Hope to see you there too.
Yeah.
And see you next time. Take care.
Take care.
And feel it to heal it.
Keep feeling.
Keep feeling.